Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time. It's like a little book club for music. Fun time had by all. I'm PD Rave, and I'm excited for today. I'm just gonna be straight up. I'm excited for today. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew, my clan. We've got.
Whoa.
We've got David.
Juntos Miami.
We've got Matt.
Hey.
We've got Brett.
Dale.
Yes. And we've got Drew.
Stay away from any clan comments and just say hello.
We're here to talk about music.
Something different.
Yeah, it's with a C. With a C. We're here to talk about an album. We're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about an album. The provider of the album this week is our technically our guest for this episode, Drew. Drew, what have you brought for us this week?
Well, this is an album that just came out recently, and it's something that I've been listening to a lot. Something that, with certain things going on in the world, got actually pushed up a little bit in its release schedule, and I think rightfully so. I've brought them before, and this is their newest one. This came out, 2 months ago? 3 months ago? Mm-hmm. This is RTJ4 from Run the Jewels.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know who to start with expectations. I'll start with the easy one. David, your expectations coming into this album.
I think that my expectation was for Petey not to ask me first. Listen to this album several times. If you're not up on your Record Breakers lore, listeners and viewers, the first album I brought to this podcast as an official member of Record Breakers in this rotation was Danny Brown's Atrocity Exhibition.
Still on regular rotation for me.
You're probably aware that Danny Brown did a guest verse on my favorite song from RTJ4, Run the Kids. Hey Kids. I have also defended the honor of Rage Against the Machine frontman Zach De La Rocha and occasional, some might say the unofficial third member of Run the Jewels, Zach De La Rocha. I have defended his honor on this podcast several times. Run the Jewels is kind of a no-brainer for me. Like Killer Mike once said in an interview, he and I will not rest until every black person on earth knows how great El Producto is, and I fully support him in that and several other causes that he preaches about.
Yes. Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, I'm familiar with other albums. We listened to Run the Jewels before around these parts. I know Meow the Jewels. I'm very familiar with the works of fellow Hoosier Lil Bub. Rest in peace, Bub. Meow the Jewels, a great album. No, it had been a few months since I'd checked in on what's going on with Run the Jewels. Because there's been a lot of it, and if there, you got to be in the mood for a lot of certain levels of bass and digital effects and stuff. So I was like, I know that we're going to be listening to this soon, so before I turn the fire hose on straight to the mouth, let's give it a breather. I kind of knew what I was getting into, but I did not expect the Google searches that I've gone on in the last few days.
Yeah. Last but not least, Matt, you'd be the one that I think particularly Drew was most curious about. What were your expectations coming into this album?
I may have played Record Breakers, the home game for the previous Run the Jewels album. I honestly don't remember. It's been so long. So I knew it was rap, but that's
basically it. I
It
didn't
went
know.
Yeah, it did that.
Yeah, I didn't know like if there would be any particular themes. Coming into it.
Well,
Yeah.
like I talk about the bass because that's the second most like known thing about Run the Jewels.
Yes.
What can I say?
Like,
You were
that's
trying
pretty-
to softball expectations to him, and he's like, I don't know.
Oh, like no, that's great. I wish I could come to Run the Jewels again and not know that they like one of them is like, well, one of them's a white dude from Brooklyn, and the other one is a guy who ran around with Bernie Sanders last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not a world that I've involved myself in any way.
I mean,
And they're all, yeah,
Yeah.
they're like the older cousin of music to me.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Older
Yeah.
cousin music.
like age-wise, their themes and what they draw from are about a decade and like more mature than my.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I don't even have to get into what I thought because I run the jewels.
Three of us are
in
fans.
my blood.
Three of us are fans of Run the Jewels here on this one.
I'm a fan of Run the Jewels. I have a good track record of
I have
bringing on
listened
some
to
of the best hip hop records on this
Of Run the
show.
Jewels.
For
catalog.
three of us,
So
this is what the record breakers would call a meatball.
Yeah, meatball across the plate. But let's talk about it
cookie
musically.
in some
Yeah,
cases.
exactly. Let's talk about this album musically. Drew, how would you describe this album musically? Just assuming somebody's listening to this episode as like their first Run the Jewels experience.
Right. So what I always try to say is, or what I always think about is Killer Mike is the quote smartest dude in hip hop since KRS-One was the smartest dude in hip hop. He's like, he's that dude, right? And this duo, LP and Killer Mike, just the way they can flow in and out of each other and the way LP produces is amazing. On top of that, I always think that the best in rap and hip hop lives in sort of two worlds simultaneously. A lot of it is really fun party music. You put it on in the background, jam to it, you bob your head when it's on shuffle on a road trip. You put it on during a barbecue, you put it on during a bonfire when you want people to have a good time. But at the same time, the best ones will always be informing you of something, be telling you some sort of story. It can deal with real shit in a way that not a lot of music can. I always think this in punk rock runs in, like, this type of hip hop and this type of rap runs in a lot of the same circles that punk does when it comes to message, when it comes to talking about real world experiences. Run the Jewels to me is personally one of the most perfect middle grounds of that Venn diagram of like good hype music, but also like they're talking about some real shit. When I heard this record was coming out, I was ecstatic. And then it came out and Killer Mike and LP decided to drop it a few days early because the protests for George Floyd were in full force. And they wanted something that people could not only latch on to from that aspect of it, from the political aspect of it, from the message aspect of it, but also something to maybe bring a light to it. It's something that if I can go back to my punk rock analogy on the messaging of this is a lot more The Clash and a lot less like Anti-Flag. It's the Bad Religion style of it's smart. It's not talking down to anybody. It's not like it's music with ideas behind it and intention behind it. Also, you like to understand this record. RTJ4 came out in December of 2016, so there was a lot of Killer Mike had a lot of emotions in that record that were very fresh. This is coming near 4 years later, 3.5-ish, and some things happened in that time, and the tone of the tracks from a musical standpoint was a lot darker, in my opinion. On RTJ3, you had like Hey Kids and Ticketron, and all that, and the sound was different. This one, there's a darker milieu to it all, which I dug. The message was still there, and the lyrics and the intelligence was still there. This is the type of music that I feel like there are kids out there that are going to hide this record under their bed like I hid Bad Religion under mine. It's a stiff upper lip to the lyrics. It's anger, but compassion, and the music to it all that underpins it, that message goes along with it in a way that makes sense, but doesn't break that other part of the Venn diagram. You can still put this on in the background. The first time I listened to it was fixing computers, and I was bouncing around, and then I sat in my car and I listened to it, and I was like, okay, they did that again. They did the thing that I like RTJ for again. RTJ FOR, not RTJ this album for.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes. David, how would you describe this album musically?
I would describe this album musically as two professional hip-hop artists who have plenty of things to say in the year of our based God 2020. Killer Mike, I sees him, and LP, that's not letter L, letter P, that is EL-P, which stands for El Producto, has plenty of rhymes, and also he's maybe right now still maybe the most creative and beat maker and producer that I can think of. I absolutely love what this dude comes up with out of his head as a producer and as a beat maker. They still managed to come up with some really cool creative ideas over the samples and the beats that they put together. Killer Mike has not lost a step. From one of his solo songs, I wrote in my notes, Killer Mike is still glad Reagan's dead, and LP is still staring into the abyss, not totally sober. And I love every second of this album from start to finish.
Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, I mean, compared to a lot of the albums that we listen to on Record Breakers, I mean, this is a very, very new album. So the themes that are drawn from
70s.
Yeah, it's this is we don't have to worry about what life was like when this album came out because it was a while.
We're all too aware.
Yeah. So
you guys remember where you were in June of 2020? Oh wait, probably the same place.
Yeah, sitting where I am, only like over
probably
there.
In the same headspace as LP.
Yeah, I probably. This is this is like I would like to go a little bit further on like how I was like kind of describing this as like music that's a little bit older than me and how it kind of it kind of shows itself, and it's the messaging of this album sort of has some seniority to it because these are guys in their mid 40s, but not to the point that it's heavy-handed in the way that it's a couple of guys telling you stories, because it could very much be hey, you listen up, kids, but it wasn't. But you could also say that with the way that the messaging came across, it came from a place of earned authority in the way that they spoke. Otherwise, the things I can actually speak to with something, there was some synthesizer that got used in this in a way that was pretty neat. Describing sounds over my voice is the most fun part, but it was awesome. Also, there's a tenor saxophone. You know what you can do with a tenor saxophone with a little bit of reverb. Probably the second coolest thing on this album was the tenor sax. The other one is the fact that in 2020 there's an album that has a secret track.
Yeah.
That's a throwback to like 1992. Yeah. I thought that was pretty great, but like it's a Run the Jewels album. The hooks are there. Like, they know how to write a song that gets stuck in your head.
Yeah, remember when CDs had secret tracks before the track?
Oh yeah.
You had to have been playing the previous track or rewind.
My favorite was Weird Al on whatever the one that he was doing the Nirvana parody album cover. He had one that just after a bunch of silence, he screamed at the microphone. And so if you just left it on and forgot that your CD player was on after listening to it, you'd have this god-awful scream like, 59 minutes later. So yeah, I am a big fan of like creative use of the secret track.
For some reason, the examples that I'm thinking of, and God's help me, is the secret tracks on one of the Limp Bizkit albums. It was like a pre-track secret track.
Well,
I don't remember
that's out on the internet.
I mean, the Blink-182 one's pretty terrible.
You guys.
But the Nirvana one was kind of okay.
Man, I don't remember that.
The Five Iron Frenzy one that like added like a bunch of. There was a Five Iron Frenzy song where they did like a bunch of genres in like it was like a 45-second to like minute and 20-second song, and then they just went down a bunch of like genres, and then the secret track was like 5 more genres.
Yeah.
The secret track of short music for short people, because you can only have 99 tracks. They put the last 3 on track 99.
Yeah.
That was so there's 2 30-second songs at the end of it.
Yes. Matt, how would you describe this album musically?
Let me just say that if you have more than 99 tracks on one disc, maybe you should reconsider.
Oh my
some
God,
other
short music for short people is a work of art.
All right, we
God.
have to keep Matt on.
God.
Yeah, that's
I'm never leaving this podcast.
That's gonna be hard.
am I?
It's gonna be hard to review. I think I'm just gonna send you short music for short people, and you can enjoy that. But like,
Okay.
It's impossible to review 101 30-second tracks.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Themes and elements for this album. This was kind of it's a hard album for me to talk about just because I am less in the world, and so I don't have all the vocabulary for it per se. Boy, there's a lot of righteous anger on this album, and by righteous I mean it's well
earned.
Justified might
well
be another
earned.
good word
Yeah,
for it.
justified. Yeah, I wanted to say well deserved, but that didn't seem right. Yeah, a lot of but overall, aside from that, kind of like what Drew talked about, just really tight production. Like I was kind of bopping along to a lot of these tracks on my own time, which is kind of as I've said before, there are certain genres that I don't particularly enjoy, but I keep listening to it through the record breakers in hopes that I'll finally start to like it. Metal being one, and rap being another one in a different way. But this one, it had a lot of there was something even for me on this album.
Yes. This album musically, it has just a nice like production work, a nice like flow, nice feeling. It has nice like abrasiveness. It has nice like righteous indignation that you can feel not just in the lyrics but in like the mood of the production. The beats are dope.
The
The
plosives,
bars are
man.
there.
The plosives.
There's like different there's moments in this that feel very old school. Some moments that feel very 2000s. There's a couple of tracks that feel very modern, and one of them in particular, and we'll get to the tracks in a moment, but that feel very modern and very now as far as like stylistically and musically. And it all works well in the album, and like it all is like it's almost like following these like the eras of hip hop, in a way, but in different touches. But like, yeah, overall, it's just it's just there's if we're talking about elements, it's just like the bringing abrasive, righteous indignation in musical form, and it's done really well. But yeah, speaking of tracks, we'll get into some of the tracks. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks to zero in on?
Well, to me, it starts out with Yankee and the Brave, which one is a great track, sort of is a great introduction track to Yankee and the Brave. I also would love to see a comic book series of LP and Killer Mike as superheroes, where their alter egos are Yankee and the Brave, but that's completely different.
They'd be anti-heroes. They'd be anti-heroes.
Like a Spawn situation or like a Punisher situation where they actually understand what the Punisher fucking was.
Either one, actually, in the case of those two.
We want to talk about old school track 2. That Ooh La La drop, though.
Yeah.
That's
DJ
a reference
Premier.
we've made on this. Reference we've made on this podcast before. But also the flow on that track was just seriously impressive. The mix of the old school feel, but with a new school like rhyming presence, I think was really cool. If you're Googling this song, the S is a $sign. It has some things to say. Mr. De La Roca is on this track. So if you know his previous work, you might know some of the reason why that S is a $sign. The beat to me is just meant to sort of be blast in the car. And like just sung along with as your windows are down. Also Pharrell is on this track.
Yeah.
And having Arby's hat. Yeah.
And having Pharrell on a track this political seems weird to me in a way, but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Because like one of the next features, Josh Homme, on Pulling the Pin.
Yes,
look,
Queens from the Stone Age, everybody.
That guy. Two things about this track.
With the hair.
One, having him there, the chisel jawed dude from Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah, Eagles of Death Metal guy.
Yeah, that guy. Look, a lot of musical artists are really pissed off at the world right now, which, fair. Broadly gesture at pretty much everything. The song's nuts. Some of the references they're pulling out, like, okay, we all know what's going on with sexual predators and things, and then to drop a line about Seville, like, just that line, like Jimmy Seville, they cheerfully kill kids in a ritual. Like, just dropping that line like it's nothing at the end, like towards the end of the song. Like, there's a whole bunch of 16, 17-year-olds that are probably looking up, who's this guy?
Who's this presenter from the BBC, and what did he do in the Isle of Man? And just don't stay away from those articles with Adam Curry attached. I know those pictures of him holding that pistol was awesome, but like, if you want to hear your Jimmy Savile stories, like, or figure out, like, kids, what's a presenter? You need to understand what a presenter is before you can understand how they're sexual predators. But yeah, that I was also pretty shocked that it's not something you bring up in like casual conversation.
No, and the great thing about it is like that happened a while ago, like that. So it's like, oh, this has kind of been a thing that's been bubbling up for a while. Don't let history like tell you any different. Like,
oh yes, notable to say that we only know about that stuff because people talked after he was dead.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh my god. David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
No, that's actually a track, everybody. It's called Holy Calamafuck. There is a beat change in this song where LP absolutely. Goonies versus E.T. Killer Mike going after woke Twitter. I appreciated that. LP just go nuts. Just as was mentioned, really great beat behind it. I got my Zach De La Rocha cameo, and the song Never Look Back had a very introspective, dark kind of vibe where you had both gentlemen looking back on their lives. And I think when you reach a certain point in your life, if you're not doing some kind of introspection, then and I don't know what to tell you. So I really appreciated that one too.
Yep. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Ooh la la. Yeah, I mean, it's a hook. Like, I just proved it. That right there. Like, not since Panama Red repeated after Panama Red has there been something stuck in my head.
Okay, we got to look into mashups.
That was a rock, Brett.
Yeah.
Brett,
somebody calls Zach Holder so we can get a mashup. Yeah.
But Walking in the Snow, for like on its own, I'm not going to talk about much other than the outro. Perfect. It is an outro that is just lines from Gangsta Boo, which you may remember from your time in 2004, if you're me, and forgotten about until this album. But the quote is, the outro is, first of all, they cheated. Because one of them's black and the other one is white. So if you don't like them, you're automatically racist.
Yeah.
And they put that at the end of that track, and I think that's fantastic. I just the way that like the little there are little things that they did on certain songs where they just like they know how to they know what button to push and when not to push a button. And like yeah, even like the way that this was the first track, the first album that I heard a line that you could obviously tell that they were like layering the lines one on top of the other, but they were getting the plosives to like swell into the production was doing things that I didn't think vocals were going to make me pay attention to. I'll tell you guys, I'm not just going to talk about Zach De La Rocha, but I'm not the one who's going to be first in line at the Rage Against the Machine buffet. I'll tell you that much. My favorite things that Zach De La Rocha were involved with were people that went on to do things that I enjoyed more with Chris Cornell. But I can't compare. It's bad because I can compare one to the other. It's not fair to anybody to be compared to Audioslave because that's my kind of rocking. And it's angry in a different way. But man, he sure do fit in this album, guys. Yeah. If you're like going to cast an album of people who have grievances that they want to air and they want to do it in a very staccato vocal way that has like if you like are walking in, I hope I'm never walking in a J.C. Penney one day and Rage Against the Machine comes on. But if I was, like if it was on a muffled speaker like 50 yards away and I heard, and I heard his vocals, God. I would know immediately who that is. Like, and I can see his hair. I can be there.
I just got a crazy idea. Can somebody like vaporwave some Rage Against the Machine?
I mean, sure. But like there is something about like the added like it's the dessert steak of angry third person to the party. Also Pharrell, like cool, like it's like okay,
yeah,
like fatten that resume up, dude. Like you're on a Run the Jewels album.
Like, who needs to fatten their resume up? Pharrell, he hasn't done enough.
Well, I mean, like he can do like a soundtrack to your kids' movie, and he also was on Run the Jewels in 2020.
Hey, you got to give Pharrell credit. He did have that song where he did that NARD song where he said these politicians sound like strippers to me. He keeps saying I don't want to.
That was also in a kids movie.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not gonna shame Pharrell's game. He's out there getting work done, but I just it's noteworthy.
Yes.
Uh,
New and noteworthy.
Always respect the hustle.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Can't not hustle. Matt.
just like who else makes nothing? If Smash Mouth shows up on the next, like who's done soundtracks for like Shrek or
They
Smurfs or
won't.
something?
I'm gonna guess
Yeah.
the guys that played at Sturgis.
No,
during
I'm
the
looking like
pandemic.
the equivalent. Like who now makes the I'm the music at the end of your children's movie? That person.
Imagine
Who did
Dragons.
Trolls,
Oh
who did
God.
Trolls World Tour.
That's Red Velvet. I would absolutely love a Red Velvet feature on a Red Net Jewels track.
Well, I mean, just the choices you have to make for your career to know that you are going to. That's always going to be a thing that's on your Wikipedia drop down, and like Pharrell can go on and do a lot of other things, but somebody's going to be scrolling down that Wikipedia page of the future, and they're going to come on RTJ4. Maybe not. Maybe he's just going to be a fixture. Maybe he's in this more
Yeah.
than for the rest. But like
Yeah.
yes, that is an alternate future I want to live in, where
Yes.
this is now what he does.
Yeah. Matt, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Ooh La La was that was one of those songs that made me kind of disoriented. I don't know why. Lot of modulation on that one.
It made you go
Out of
"Ah, wee,
sight.
wee."
Oh wee. Whoa, man. I was also
That was this album could be exhausting. When I was saying like when you come in, that's another thing that they're known for.
Yeah. I was while Drew's first listen to this was while working on computers. My first listen was while building a guitar. So, take that for what you will. Out of Sight. I don't really have much to say on this one other than it just really drew me in. Like every time I listened to it, I'm like, oh, that's a cool one. Oh, interesting. 2 Chainz, which I know the name from the old Dope Peddler. Walking in the Snow. Like I said, I was listening to this album while working on a guitar, and then the I Can't Breathe line, it just kind of made me stop in my tracks and go, oh, this is going to be one of those albums where I have to sit down and study this.
Yes.
Really study the lyrics.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, I kinda
okay.
did that.
It's righteously calling out like me and most of the people I know, and that's okay because we kind of need it. And pulling the pin. This one, it's just again the beat. It was this nice kind of 12/8 kind of gospel feel, which makes sense given that it has Mavis Staples on it, and that was it.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I too would like to watch Yankee and the Brave.
Yes. The new addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
Yankee and the Brave. Yeah. I mean, big shout out to that. Big shout out to Ooh La La, Wee Wee. DJ Premier is a fantastic addition, and he brings what you want from DJ Premier, musically and production wise, and it's just a engaging, fun like track to listen to, and works so well. Walking in the Snow, it was one of those poignant songs that is also just it also has a great hook and it's catchy. Like the hook kind of like God damn that motherfucker's cold. Like it's just
You can't argue with that.
Yeah, it's just fantastic, and the hook is fantastic, and the production is fantastic. It has some cool moments, like when you hear that. It's like that when the hook at first appears, because you first hear Zach during the chorus, during the hook, because he kind of comes at the end, and there was a like a little part of me that was worried that was the only thing we would get from Zach, like a cut off edition of his of the hook as performed by everybody else. But then he came on. There's a lot of really cool things about but one of the cool things about this is how obvious when his came up, how it seemed like Zach definitely did. The other people did theirs in a booth with a mic box, and you know how they would do it. Zach did it standing in a corner with his mic cupped in his hand, screaming into it. Like, and I guarantee you, he has one sitting around our Run the Jewels studio, just ready. Like, yeah, he came into the studio. I was like, yeah, yo, Zach, yeah, your mic's over there. You just, yeah, go at it. Yeah, and it's like part of Zach De La Rocha's flow and sound is inherently tied to the fact that he breaks the rules and cups the mic and yells directly into the microphone, because the way his plosives and as part of how he writes and how he emotes, the way his plosives, the way he spits, like literally spits, the way he like yells, and it sounds like silly words, but it's such a big part of the being able to draw out the emotion of his words, is that he's literally yelling all this shit into your ear, and you're going to listen to him because fuck you, that's why. Like, and I think that's one of the best parts of it, and I'm glad he delivered it that way. It's interesting that it's so juxtaposed with the way the other lines are delivered, but it's his sound, like his approach, his mic, and how he sings. That's his sound. So that's one of I would say, out of all of those, if I were to go key in and be the one to highlight something, that would be what I would take the opportunity to highlight, is that, because I love Zach. But yeah, let's bring it back around the horn, talk about some conclusive thoughts. I'll let both David and Drew get the last word. So I'll start with Brett. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I mean, it's exactly what you come to expect if you're gonna if you've been through 3 of these things, you have a good idea what you're gonna get in the 4th one, and if you've existed in 2020 so far, you probably understand how that's gonna work too. If the themes are there, so like, don't take it from me, take it to overwhelming people who get paid to do this, who say pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Matt, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I'm glad I listened to this. It was good. I don't see myself likely listening to it regularly, but
take it to the swing shows, like put it on the boombox in the corner.
I'll play it at the weddings between when we're playing.
Sure.
Yeah.
God, that would be
the bride's like, that slaps.
Yeah.
Now, I just thought of, okay, so this is from the last one, but if we could transpose, like, Hey Kids or Ticketron onto pedal steel.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, they're endless. Like, there are older and weirder synthesizers that can do the exact same synthesizing noises, just with a different kind of ooh-woo.
Yes.
Like,
oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
RTJ is in fact the new PB&J. 4 albums in, they are a hallmark of consistent genre. They establish, and they still manage to be fun, clever, interesting, and poignant. LP seemingly has an infinite well of beats and ideas, wherever he's getting his record collection from, and wherever he gets his ideas to mix and drugs. He's a producer, and I will never get tired of hearing Killer Mike when he has something to say. I will never get tired of him. And LP, as a rapper, I love his flow. I love his lyrics. He has this weird sense of nihilism and just fucked up sense of humor that I absolutely love. And I just think they're great. This album was great.
Yes. This album is just beautiful and fantastic, and it's well polished and it just instantly and infinitely engaging and well executed. The beats are just fantastic. The bars have been brought quite thoroughly.
They spat even. Bars were spat.
Yes, bars were spat.
I'm gonna say this once for this episode, and I'll let it go. If you cup the mic, you lose directionality.
Mm-hmm.
Also, remember, just because people can hear your plosives doesn't mean you don't have to work that EQ so people aren't hearing you sucking air in and out.
Yes. Yes.
But I thought taking in air was kind of part of it.
They actually cut out all there's definitely like some muffle. Well, pretty much what you do is you turn that gain knob down and let Zach go to work.
Yeah, because he's gonna do his thing. Like Zach is just gonna do his
You know what? Just use automation.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just turn you down for that part.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But yeah, this I think it all works well. It's one of those things where it's like, yes, the rule is there to achieve a certain goal, but if your goal is a different goal, sometimes you gotta break
the sound
rule.
guy.
Exactly.
Cup the microphone.
Exactly.
Unless it's a Heil PR35 BW or PR35 or so they claim.
Yeah. But yeah, ultimately I think that everything about this sound is everybody doing their thing at a excellent level. And it's just beautiful. Like Run the Jewels, they gotta have another hit in their hand. It's just fantastic. Yeah, last but not least, Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
This is one of those records where, whether you're a fan of the genre or not, whether you even necessarily agree with the political opinions of LP and Killer Mike, these are stories, and these are experiences, and these are ideas that I think deserve the light of day. Putting them on in music is sneaky, because the music is good enough that you can put this on and people will sometimes pick up things like out of a lyric or out of a song that they wouldn't pick up otherwise. That's the beauty, I think, in music, is that you can sort of put a lot of smart things in it if you make it good enough to be without reproach. And like I've said before, Killer Mike, in most rooms that Killer Mike walks into, he is... okay, let me rephrase that. In every mic that Killer will... Or every room that... Every Killer Mike that Killer Mike walks into...
We got it.
Every room that Killer Mike walks into, he is, if not the smartest person, in the top 3 in the room. So he's someone that, with things that are going on right now, let's be honest, with the protests we have in the streets, with the pandemic, with everything else that's going on top of everything, with people needing to be heard, I don't know if I know a better bard, to harken back to last night. I don't know if I know a better bard for this message right now than Killer Mike.
Yeah.
Killer Mike and Party Bear, old friends.
Yeah.
And if I know anything, Party Bear, he knows good people.
Yeah. He don't hang out with suckers.
Also,
sucker
side
MCs.
note, I've noticed 2 of my favorite, like, recent bands are, like, you look at them and they're odd couple pairings. Chromeo and Run the Jewels. Like
The Hall
Yeah.
Notes.
Yes.
you look at them and you're like, oh, that's a weird pair of people. A Jewish
Well,
dude
it
and a
worked.
Muslim. Oh, it's that weird small white dude and that giant black guy, and it works.
The
Weird.
white blonde dude, a guy with a mustache, and
Yeah.
was that G.E. Smith from the Saturday Night Live
Like peanut
band over there
Yeah, they
playing
are-
at Dan Electro?
Like I said, they're the new PB&J.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are our thoughts on RTJ4, Run the Jewels. No surprise here. Now we get to the main event of the evening. We get to the moment we've all been waiting for. We get to our haiku reviews. Where we hit them with the 575, drop our own bars. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haiku numero uno. David, what is your haiku?
Yankee and the Brave. Like a lunch break at Wendy's, they are 4 for 4.
Brett, what is your haiku?
God, I only wish. It's what I expect based on what I've heard before. Solid front to back.
I'll put my haiku in the middle. Great hip hop record. Poignant and pugilistic. RTJ, don't miss. Matt.
Ain't nothing to fuck.
Matt, what is your haiku?
Pertinent lyrics. Expert beats in production. Thanks for sharing this.
And last but not least, Drew, what is your haiku?
Love some good hip hop with messages that need heard. Best hip hop duo.
And those are our thoughts on Run the Jewels RTJ4. You can, of course, check it out on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. Play along with us. Do your homework. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record. So, I figured. So, this was going to be the handoff where we bring back Drew, and send Matt off out into the pasture.
I feel bad.
Whoa.
But I'm keeping you around. Yeah, we ain't get rid of Matt just yet. We're keeping him around for one more episode.
I guess I'll
No, we're doing all 5 lists.
No.
We're gonna do this next week because I've got next week's record, because this is gonna be an interesting discussion no matter what. We're gonna talk about we're gonna revisit an artist that we talked about previously. We're gonna revisit artists because I feel it's time.
Delman
Beyond the
Verizon.
Jewels.
Uh,
Beyond the Jewels.
We're going to talk about a group that just recently went through a name change since the album that we talked about. We're going to be talking about The Chicks and their newest album, Gaslighter. So look forward to that. This is going to be interesting. This is why I wanted Matt here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. For the folks out there at home, this is David asking, the Chicks? Question mark.
The
They
Chicks.
changed their names from the Dixie Chicks because they didn't want to be associated with the word Dixie anymore.
It's like they went and said, "Hey,
TNA wrestling."
you know what? They felt it was there was some pain involved with that name, and some misery, and some divisive.
There was some pain and misery with TNA wrestling. That's for sure.
I thought the pain and misery with the Dixie Chicks was all guys named Earl.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Also,
Or George
Also,
W.
they lost the Dixie, but I'm wondering where they lost the Dixie in the name, but I wonder where the came from. I'm pretty sure it was always Dixie Chicks but that's neither here nor there. But look forward to that next week. Yes, it'll be next week, and this is this week. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Brett is at Hibbity HIBBITYBIBBARD. Matt is at Emeritic W. Drew is at XDruciferX. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com, RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com, Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube and on Twitch. We're on Twitch streaming recordings of the episodes every Wednesday. We're doing D&D on Tuesdays. We're doing Space Trucking on Thursdays.
Honk honk.
Honk honk, some fun time. Come on!
Come
on! Follow on Twitch to see when we go live. Check us out on YouTube. So like, share, subscribe. Find us everywhere you find podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts now, Spotify, SoundCloud, all the places.
Amazon Music.
Like I said, yeah, Amazon Music. We're on there. Yeah, check us out everywhere. Do all the things, reviews, all that. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.
Plosives.
Silence.
RTJ4 was released as an audio cassette, and I find that deeply upsetting.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.